The bloody conflict in Israel and Gaza is escalating fast. Many fear it threatens a broader regional war with troubling and unknowable ramifications. Meanwhile, social media is inundated with horrific images of the ongoing violence. A lot of it is designed to inflame anger and to cast blame on one side or the other. According to experts, more Israelis died during Hamas's initial assault than on any previous day in Israel's history, including all of its wars. On the other side, the destruction currently being inflicted on Gaza and its civilian population is increasing by the hour, with the talk of a ground invasion imminent and with a few places of refuge for Palestinian civilians who are now under a state of siege with no food, electricity, or water. Now, the 1.1 million citizens of Gaza are being told to move out in under 24 hours. Jamal Dajani, a Palestinian journalist, said that the U.S. is funding Israel to keep bombing Gaza when already 700 children have been killed. He added that this conflict can drag other players into the war, like Iran and Yemen. There is a larger context here of why it keeps happening in the first place and why it keeps repeating itself. For the past 75 years, Palestinians have not seen any advancement in negotiations with Israel and have been living under a state of apartheid. Professor Brian Levine talked about hate crime in the US, saying that what we're seeing now in hate crimes is that they're not only spiking, but they're lasting longer. He urges that it's important for civic and religious leaders to tone it down and not fuel the flames. Estee Chandler with Jewish Voice for Peace said that right now both Palestinians and Israelis are terrified for their loved ones and grieve the lives lost, but nevertheless remain committed to a future where all people live with freedom and safety. She said for the past year that the most racist far-right government in Israeli history has ruthlessly escalated its military occupation over Palestinians in the name of Jewish supremacy, with violent expulsions, rise in home demolitions, mass killings, military raids on refugee camps, and repeatedly storming the holiest Muslim sites in Jerusalem. And the mainstream media isn't reporting on any of these instances or what's really happening in Gaza and Palestine. Fatin Jarrara clarified that this is not an issue between Israel and Hamas, but rather an issue of occupation that is imposed on indigenous people that has been happening for years. She echoed that though the Western media does not show what's happening, it's important for everyone to educate themselves on the history and the reality of what's really happening.